I'm Matthew, and this is King of Hearts, Queen of Sorrows, episode 18, Rioting in the City. So today I'm going to be talking about G Gundam, episode 18, Steal the Secret, Scheme of the Beautiful Warriors. This episode sees Schwarzbruder parent-trapping Domon and Chibodee into a confrontation to mutually benefit them, or everybody, I guess. Anyway, I guess that's a synopsis right there. Before I go any further, for whatever reason, this episode happens to feature a lot of very gifable moments, so I've done just that. So if you're watching the video version of the podcast, you're getting a treat of seeing these GIFs that I made. Man, Schwarzbruder is a German ninja, and that really tickles me. So, anyway, you're going to see him doing ninja stuff. And the dramatic shot of the girls when they were back in New York in the bad old days, when they were rioting in the city and such, is just great. And then finally I have one of Chibodee destroying a floppy disk because I love floppy disks in media. It's so good. So the things I really liked about this episode, I'll just kind of throw them out in bullet point format for you right now. So there was like a kind of a theme of team solidarity and connection. Chibodee had like a PTSD moment regarding the Dark Gundam, and like Domon was just still getting in his way. And then, like I said, Schwartz like parent traps them into fighting a match, and they both find a lot of joy in the match, and it ends up helping them to change. But then there's like a contrivance of a rescue that they have to do for the ladies or for their crews, and it helps them unlock even greater power, which is fun. So anyway, I'll just go ahead and go through those again. So team solidarity and connection. I guess what I liked is and then Chibodee's like, he comes home drunk to the hotel or whatever, which is really funny. But anyway, so like Chibodee was, had this dream since he was a kid, we know this already, to go up to the colony and to be, champion, whatever. I can't remember exactly what his dream was, but he wants to be basically, I think, the strongest American and an American champion, maybe specifically for the Gundam fight, I don't know, but he was into the boxing for some time, and I think that helped to raise his visibility to the people up in the colony. Anyway, the girls snuck onto a ship, a transport going up to the colony, and they almost got caught, and he's like, "No, this is my crew." Honestly, probably was because it was a bunch of pretty ladies, and he wanted to, have them in his gratitude, have them in his debt to some extent, from saving them. But I really like that. Again, I'm gonna keep injecting all other aspects of my life into this. There's a saying in, I don't know if it's in the Talmud or what, that says, "Without the evil inclination," in this case, read that as a man's desire to be intimate with a woman, a man would never plant a field, build a house, or marry. Guys would be content to be hanging out in the wilderness, goofing off, doing nothing, relaxing, if not necessarily, or potentially, if not for the desire to be with a woman, and the natural barrier that exists to some extent for a woman to say like, "Whoa, hey, hold on, buddy, if you want my time, you're gonna have to prove that you're worthwhile to me." And that's just kind of funny because these women are drawn to be beautiful, and he like always compliments Rain about her looks. And, the guy he's a stereotypical American, Chibodee is. So, of course, he goes over to these knockouts, and he's like, "No, what are you talking about? They're part of my crew." And that's really funny because when he finally gets to know them after that, as we see in this episode, like, they are similar to Chibodee. They want certain things, and they go for them, and they go for broke. And it's really cool that they share those traits. And then even, I think Shirley's the one with the red hair. No, Bunny has the glasses, but I don't remember the other two. Sorry. I think Kath, and then I don't know the fourth. Anyway, but like, I think Shirley and Bunny like have the closest connection to Chibodee. I don't know why I feel that. I think maybe just the way the show handles them all, it makes, like, they're shippable, basically. But they've got that burning desire to do something. And maybe Shirley really is the lead, because she seemed like she was the leader of the gang of the girls. And, Chibodee's a leader kind of guy, too. But anyway, I'm getting off track. Basically, they all go for what they want, and they're, brash about it and whatever. And, then the ladies all go to the Guiana Highlands after that old man in the beginning tells them to and prompts them to go. And they, go to steal Shining Gundam's data. And they kind of goad Chibodee by saying, like, well, you're not, basically you're not man enough to beat him on your own. We're going to carry on as a Gundam fighter in your stead because you're, you can't handle it. And, that makes me think he was probably out getting drunk because he had that, like, bout of PTSD or whatever, that flashback of the Dark Gundam. It was interesting. He envisioned Dark Gundam cells coming all over himself, and then he went ham on, I don't know, it wasn't Turkey. Anyway, on whoever that other Gundam fighter was, and totally demolished and destroyed him, and was like, he was just freaking out, man, and just pounding away at him. And I think that's because, well, no, it's interesting. He had a flashback that the DGC cells were on him, like, before when he had been, brainwashed and whatnot. And he goes crazy and attacks the other guy. You would think that he would have been projecting the Dark Gundam there. And definitely the Dark Gundam is on his mind, because when he sees Domon training, he thinks, well, is he here trying to fight the Dark Gundam on his own? And he's not. So I wonder if Chibodee feels a little bit of guilt for abandoning the fight against the Dark Gundam, which I think probably plays into the overall... not theme or anything, but like an overall event or like mini arc within this arc that like all 4 of the other Shuffle Alliance members go through. I forgot to look at my notes, but this is the Guiana Highlands arc, and I can't remember exactly what goes on in it, but I'd kind of made a note for myself about that, so sorry about that. Let me see. Okay, so their match... Okay, no, I want to talk about Domon getting in his own way. So... Domon keeps jumping into the river and slashing the trees with the sword. Like, there's a huge tree. It's like, 3 or 4 people could maybe grasp hands around it. He's failing to find his way. And he says to himself, like, if I can't even beat this waterfall, how am I supposed to beat Master? Which is kind of a funny way to put things. But, it does make sense. Domon just can't seem to get out of his way, and he's so distracted by... So I, said that, Chibodee went and, was getting drunk because of trying to deal with his, PTSD situation flashback thing, but I think Domon was throwing himself into his training in such a way that wasn't helpful to his cause either. And, it's cool that Chibodee ends up showing up, and they have their fight, and then the whole disaster thing happens, to shake him from that. I wonder if there was supposed to be a lesson in there. Like, none of them are fighting the Dark Gundam. Chibodee was doing a fight against a Gundam fighter. Domon had completely withdrawn from the Gundam fight and the fight from the Dark Gundam, but that's only because he knows that he's not ready. So Chibodee was like running away from a responsibility as a Shuffle Alliance member. Domon was properly applying himself towards strength, and he was pointing in the right direction because he wanted to gain strength in order to deal with the Dark Gundam and yada yada, which is like what he should be doing. If you want to look at it universally, cosmically, where they should be, like Chibodee was in the wrong place, Domon was in the right place, kind of doing the more selfless thing, but like maybe his methodology was so bad that it messed him up, because once Chibodee, Chibodee doesn't have a super mode, so to speak, but he also doesn't get hung up on that, and he doesn't get hung up on relying on that. Whereas Domon, who we thought was a competent fighter up until, he said in the last episode that he wasn't, seems to kind of rely on his super mode, even though he does seem to be a good fighter. So, I don't know, it's kind of confusing. So I think the show honestly handles this a little inconsistently, and it could have been better done. Like, as you step back from it and take a look at it overall, but I still like it episode to episode, and I think it flows well enough for me to not really think about it that hard when I'm not thinking about it that hard. I have to force myself. I wouldn't have thought about this, the flaw in here, if I hadn't been watching the show so closely. Except maybe unconsciously I thought of the show as a little shallow, but just a lot of fun. But as I was watching it last year, it hit me that this show's pretty darn deep. But maybe it like has the seeds of deep things, but they're not like structured so well as to be the most deep they could be and the most impactful. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know. Okay, I'm going on too long about that. I need to move on. So their fight brought them joy. It was interesting. Okay, so then needing to save their crews helped them out too. So like they weren't. So they had their little fight. They were having fun. Whatever. It was helping them with their training, and then their crews got in danger. By the way, the girls like pulling the gun on Rain and Rain like tackling the two of them and then bandaging them and stuff like. This is really cool. Like I love how much play the ladies got in this episode, and like I don't know, it's really fun and it's neat. And we don't get to see much from Chibodee's crew as far as like what their technical prowess is and whatnot. That doesn't really bother me. I mean, their tenacity alone and like how willing they are to support him, like to me it speaks enough to like they must be competent in being able to perform whatever duties they have to for him to keep them on. And I think they definitely like put him in the right headspace. So that's good enough. But, you know, again, you get to see Rain, like she's, I think she thinks the girls won't shoot her or anything, but like she's still, you know, standing up to get the data from them. And, you know, she tackles them and they fall off the hill and whatever. Like that's all super cool. So anyway, I'll get back to the focus. So like, you know, Chibodee, sees an opening or a necessity for him to like, you know, smash that boulder or whatever. And like, it's kind of a necessity is the mother of invention kind of situation. And he's just able to like apply all his fighting knowledge and the ridiculous powers that G Gundam allows people to have. And he's like, aha, this will work. And then he does, you know, the fiery tornado punch that streams out and whatever, which is neat. I like that a lot. And he's kind of been building towards that because of how fast his punches are. Like when he was fighting Domon, when he was still under control of the Dark Gundam, like, you know, his fists are just flying all over the place. It's nuts. So I don't know. I like that. And then, and then Domon, like realizing that Rain was in danger. So last episode, he realized that his life was in mortal danger. And then this episode, he sees that Rain's life is in serious danger. And his very pure, natural human instinct to want to save her kicks in. And he's already kind of, it's a tense situation already, so he's panicked. So I think, like, the rush of that emotion is gone. And it's just like, oh no, Rain! Like, it's a chance to see, it, like, slows everything down for him because he sees that she's in danger and he's able to focus on that. And that's what helps to open him up to that, you know, I'm going to spoil it or whatever, to that serene state of mind where he can focus on saving her and then access the super mode. And I think he uses it to like totally push back all the water or something like that. Because then I know Schwartz swoops in. He's like, oh, I didn't have to help you after all. Ha ha ha. And then he scoops up the ladies and helps them out. Anyway, to wrap up, I really like this episode. I like seeing into the girl's past. And just, you know, I think I pretty well explained everything that I liked about it. It was a lot of fun. It was cool to see Domon training. It was interesting to see Chibodee like dealing with the stress of the Dark Gundam. Next episode, I think it's Saisaishi. I want to see if he's freaking out about the Dark Gundam too, if like that's still affecting him. That'll be interesting to see if that's like a thread that they work on. So anyway, that's all. You can check out the at KHQS13 Twitter account. Basically, I'm just going to reduce that to releasing the episodes and releasing GIFs based on each episode. And the GIFs that I put in the front of this one, I'm going to release those over the week just for fun. So you can look forward to those. Thank you for your time and attention. I'd love to do more of this. Like, share, and subscribe to cheer me on, or give me feedback to make me stronger and smarter. Visit luminousbeings.blog for more. I link everything I do there, so if you want to comment, that's the place where I'll definitely see it.